Sweet Cider, written by Jabbie. Colorful leaves fell from the abundance of apple trees as a chilly breeze rushed between them. A large line of ponies pulled their scarves together while they waited anxiously for their turn to receive this season's delicious apple cider. One particularly anxious Pegasus fluttered above the crowd and gazed longingly at the stack of barrels that seemed so hopelessly far away, her dry tongue curling at the thought of the most delectable, thirst-quenching substance in existence, gracing her palate. Then, to the young rainbow-maned mare's greatest disappointment, Applejack made an announcement to the masses. That's a wrap, every pony. We are all out of cider for today, so y'all had to just come on back tomorrow. We'll have a fresh batch ready to go first thing in the morning. Rainbow Dash fluttered into the air and threw her hooves up in detestation. Are you kidding me? The disappointed mare fell forcefully on her back, sending up a small plume of dust as she crossed her front hooves and pouted. The rest of the ponies muttered in dissatisfaction as she dropped their ears and slowly staggered away. Ah, shucks, Rainbow. I reckon you would have learned your lesson by now. Why can't you just show up earlier, considering how much cider you want every cider season? Applejack trotted in circles around her pouting friend, then took a seat next to her in a dirt road. I got here as early as I could. Maybe if you didn't sell 1,000 barrels to Pinkie Pie, there would still be some for me. Rainbow grunted and faced away. You know, I'm sure Pinkie will be glad to share if you just ask. Applejack winked and stood up, brushing her coat off with her tail. But I know you got your pride, so get up, stop acting like a fool, and come with me. Rainbow reluctantly rose her hooves and sighed. Alright, but make it quick, I got things to do. Applejack chuckled and rolled her eyes as she began the slow trot towards the old apple barn. She trotted past Big Macintosh as she was rolling the empty barrels towards the apple cellar, and gave him a nod of approval and a tip on her hat. She then gave the front doors of the barn a quick kick, which sent them slowly open. The deep orange sun cast its soft glow through the spaces between the old, worn planks holding the structure together. It illuminated the emptied building with a soft, warm glow. Rainbow Dash stepped into the barn first as another chilly breeze grazed her back, and Applejack followed close behind. Brr, seems like we're gonna get an early winter this year. You bet I know anything about that? Applejack widened a questioning eye as she latched the barn door shut. Sounds right. I'm not sure, though. I usually don't pay much attention to the plants. They just tell me where to push the clouds, Rainbow Dash explained as she fluffed her wings. So, are you going to tell me what this is all about? Sure thing, Sugar Cube. The Earth Pony grinned and trotted up to the barrel propped up in the corner and tapped on the lid. Grab a mug, partner. I set this barrel just aside for you. Rainbow Dash's jaw dropped as she eyed the full barrel of mouth-watering, crave-sating cider. In an instant, she dashed over to the barrel. Applejack raised an eyebrow and filled the cup with a chuckle. The Pegasus held the cup beneath her nostrils, taking in its sweet aroma as her eyes rolled back into her head. Oh, sweet Celestia, my prayers have been answered! Applejack shook her head and filled her own cup. There's plenty more where that came from, so drink up. Rainbow Dash pressed the cup into her lips, the sensation she's been anticipating all year, finally within her grasp. The cup tilted back, and the cider met her tongue, its sweet spice washing over her body and senses like an explosion of pleasure in her mouth. With a slight quiver, she swallowed forlornly as the wondrous liquid left her taste buds behind. This is the best feeling life has to offer. Rainbow delicately stroked her mug with starry eyes. Well, I'm glad you like my cider and all. And Ash, you can come and get cider whenever you want. It's one of the perks of being the cider maker's best friend, you know? Applejack winked and bumped her friend's shoulder. Really? You mean like no more lines and no more not getting cider? And you're just now telling me this? Rainbow lifted her cup and downed the rest in a single gulp. Applejack lifted her hooves and smiled sheepishly. Yeah, I guess so. Sorry? Rainbow glared and held her cup beneath the tap. Better late than never, I guess. Applejack pressed down a tap and nodded. Well, I'm giving you a lot of cider for free right now, so let's call it even. Yeah. Rainbow stared into her friend's eyes with a cold gaze for several moments. Then soon, she broke into a chuckle. Ha! I'm not mad at you. This is the best day ever. Applejack let a sigh of relief and lifted her mug to Rainbow's. Well then, cheers to a barrel between friends. The Pegasus nodded and bumped cups with her friend. Thanks for this, AJ. I didn't know you cared. Oh, it's nothing. I just hate seeing you disappointed every day, and I figured it was the least I can do for a friend in need. The orange mare flicked her ear and kicked on the ground as she sipped her cider. Rainbow Dash glanced up to her friend, quickly spotting the subtle blush growing on her muzzle. Uh-huh. Well, that was nice of you. Kinda weird you waited all these years to do this, though. I mean, we have been friends for a really long time. Is there some other reason you randomly decided to do something, I don't know, super nice? Huh? No other reason. Just being friendly and neighborly, that's all. Applejack smiled wide and nodded rapidly. Alright then, I believe it. Rainbow fluttered up next to the mare and poured her own cup of cider. Applejack respectfully glanced away from her friend's flank, as it was temptingly close. Her kindness was short-lived, as her eyes betrayed her sense of courteousness, and drifted along the perfectly fit Pegasus's backside. The farm mare closed her eyes and took a deep breath. So, how've things been lately? Rainbow tilted her head away from the barrel and grinned. So what, we're making small talk now? Okay I guess. You? Yeah, same. Applejack scoffed and kicked the ground again, a small cloud of dust forming beneath her hoof. Rainbow Dash sipped on her cider and awkwardly glanced around the barn. She slowly trotted around and continually glanced back at her friend, who stayed still, leaning against the barrel and following Rainbow around the room with deep green eyes. So, why so quiet all of a sudden? Rainbow asked, clearing her throat to break the silence. Huh? Who's quiet? I've been normal. You're the quiet one. Applejack gulped and took a deep breath. So maybe I am being a little quiet. Is that a problem? Rainbow stared in confusion, then scratched her mane. Should I go? No! Applejack shouted, then turned away as she squeezed her eyes closed. I mean, well, you can if you want. Sheesh, I just want to know what's gotten into you. Rainbow fluttered up next to the embarrassed mare and placed a wing over her back. Applejack took several more deep breaths and shook her head. I'm sorry, Rainbow. I didn't mean to get all, crazy or whatever you want to say. It's nothing, really. I guess I was just a little nervous about asking you to come to the barn or whatnot. Why would you be? You seem pretty cool about the whole thing if you ask me. Applejack lowered her ears as her cheeks grew hotter. She looked up into Rainbow Dash's glowing pink eyes as the setting sun sent its beautiful rays falling a line across her pretty blue face. Well, I guess there is another reason why I brought you here today. Applejack lifted her chin and faced her friend with confidence. And that would be? Rainbow asked, her eyes locked on Applejack's as she inched closer and closer. Oh, nothing big. It's just... She closed her eyes and leaned forward, her lips brushing against Rainbow's. The Pegasus dropped her half-full cup of cider onto the ground and wrapped her forelegs around Applejack's neck. Their lips went from simply touching to interlocking, and the cold autumn air vanished between their warm, loving embrace. Each mare kept their eyes closed as they shared a moment of passion and mutual affection. Rainbow Dash's heart skipped a beat as the subtle sweet taste of cider on Applejack's lips met her tongue. The orange mare's hot breath escaped her nostrils and washed over Rainbow's cheeks as she parted her lips a bit more. Applejack opened her own lips as her friend's tongue flicked between them. She tilted her head and pressed herself against the Pegasus, causing her to stumble backwards. As Rainbow stepped back, her hoof landed on the center of the spilled cider and it slipped out from beneath her. Applejack, pressed up against her friend, fell directly on top of her and instantly lost her footing as she attempted to scramble to her hooves. Ouch! Each mare fell silent. A sudden gust of wind shook the barn planks and sent its chill between them. Rainbow Dash chuckled and Applejack began to laugh. Both mares giggled uncontrollably as they slowly helped one another to their hooves. The slowly dimming sunlight glowed brightly in each mare's eyes as they both let out a simultaneous, woeful sigh. So, is that what this was all about? Rainbow asked, her hot cheeks becoming redder as she stared at her friend. Applejack turned away and scratched beneath her hat, her coy smile drooping with her ears. Yeah, pretty much. Sorry to be so forward about it. Heh, yeah, it's okay. Rainbow lowered her ears and scratched at the dirt floor. Once again, each mare fell silent and avoided eye contact. The orange sunlight turned to dark blue as it fell beneath the horizon and stars took the sky. Another strong gust hit the barn, causing each mare to jump and shiver. Applejack placed her hat back on her head and nodded towards the door. Hey, wanna come inside with me? We can, talk about stuff. Rainbow Dash shook her head and trotted next to her friend, tightly wrapping a wing over her back and planting a lovely peck on her cheek. What's to talk about? Applejack shrugged and rubbed her muzzle against Rainbow's. Well then, let's just go inside and do whatever it is that you want to do, Sugar Cube. Sounds good to me. The end. Hello everypony, Snogwritts here. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more readings like this one every Saturday. Alright, that's it for me. This is Snogwritts, signing out.